Mac. The story of Mac begins in a rescue league in Albany, New York, where he was born. The story was very interesting to me as the lady who owned Mac told me about him. I will try to tell you about the unusual circumstances in this kitten's life. Mac was a tiger Persian kitten, but was afflicted with a disease called mange when he was very small. His mother had a very bad case of the mange, but instead of being cruelly treated, her mistress took her to the rescue league, where she could be well cared for. While under the treatment in this league, which was a home for sick, afflicted, and homeless kittens, Mac was born. A short time after his birth, he and his brothers and sisters became afflicted with the disease of the mother. When Mac was 6 weeks old, the mother and all the kittens, except Mac, were chloroformed because of their awful condition with the disease. Mac was left an orphan kitten with no home but the quarters of the rescue league. One day, a kind lady went to this league, and from all the kittens there, she selected Mac to go and live in her home. This was very kind of the lady because Mac needed a home. Let us not forget this example when we see a homeless or hungry kitten. It would be easy for many people to make kittens happy in this way. The lady who took Mac had a little daughter who became attached to the kitten, and in a few weeks they were the best of friends. By the time Mac was 1 year old, he had learned many tricks and was very obedient. When he wanted someone to open the door, he would stand on his hind feet and put both front feet around the doorknob and try to open the door or attract attention. It was a good thing that Mac learned to do this. One night he was left in the kitchen to sleep. The little girl of the home, Mac's little mistress, was asleep in another room which opened into the kitchen. About 2 o'clock that morning, the girl's mother heard Mac rattling the doorknob and meowing with all his might. She knew that something was wrong, so she went to the kitchen to see why he was calling so much. When she opened the door, she saw that the kitchen was on fire, and the blaze had almost reached the door of the little girl's room, where Mac was calling for help. His fur was scorched a little, but he was not seriously burned. The mother said that 5 minutes more and the blaze would have been beyond control and would have made its way into the little girl's bedroom. She feels that Mac saved her daughter's life by calling for her to open the door. When the lady and her daughter moved from Albany, New York to Chicago, they did not leave Mac behind. He moved with them as one of the family and lived for a long time in a boarding house in the big city. There are so many kittens that do not get to travel over the country. Neither do they get to live in boarding houses. Almost any kitten is satisfied to have a good place to sleep and plenty to eat. There's another thing most kittens like, and that is kind treatment. They like to be petted and loved, as well as being cared for with home and food. After leaving Chicago, Mac moved to Kansas City with his kind mistress. For some time he lived in this city, but at last he moved to Maple Park, just east of the city on the interurban line to Excelsior Springs. It was there he lived and spent many happy days. Out there in the open, away from the crowded streets of the big cities, Mac caught grasshoppers as his favorite pastime in the fields. This he enjoyed very much, and it was also good exercise for him. When the lady's husband would sit down to read the evening paper in the big Morris chair, Mac would always sleep on one of the arms of the chair. At mealtime, he would sit in a high chair at the table and eat just what was given to him. He would not offer to get on the table nor bother anything in the kitchen. One day, another kitten came into the home to live, but he was not so careful to keep out of the food not intended for him. When he would try to get into anything or stand up against the cabinet or table, Mac would box his ears and make him get away. Mac had been trained from his baby days to keep off the table or cabinet and to keep out of the food which did not belong to him. The years passed by in Mac's life until he became a very old cat. He never forgot his early training and the many little tricks which he had been taught to do. Of course, his mistress thought more of him after he saved the little girl from the fire, but he always had a favorite place in everything. At the ripe old age of 14 years, Mac died. His life had been useful, and he had been kind and obedient through all the years. It was a sad day in the home when Mac died. The whole family went to his burial. He was buried at Maple Park in a little grave over which many tears were shed. He was loved by all and had helped to make life brighter with the life which he had lived. A beautiful and obedient cat was laid to rest. End of Section 1. Snooks. Snooks was a very small kitten and lived in a preacher's home. He was well liked by the children in the home. One day, one of the girls became very ill, and for weeks everyone had to be very quiet. The kitten liked to be in the house and romp with the children, but during those weeks of sickness he had to stay outdoors. One day, a young man called at the house on an errand, and as he turned to leave, he noticed the kitten asleep in a chair on the front porch. He told one of the children that he would like to have the little ball of gray and blue, and to his surprise, the little girl gave it to him. The first ride the kitten ever had in an automobile was that afternoon, when the young man started home with the little gift. Kittens do not like to ride as dogs do, so this kitten was afraid and had to be kept from jumping out while the car was running. The kitten soon made friends in the new home and was named Snooks. This name was given him by his new mistress because a pet chicken she once had was named Snooks. He was trained in many ways during the early months in this new home and could be trusted alone in the house, for he would not climb upon the table or bother anything. Nearly all kittens are afraid of water, but Snooks likes to get into it and play by splashing it with his feet. He also likes to take a bath, for he will not offer to scratch or bite, but stands in the bathtub while his mistress washes him. Sometime during each day, Snooks has a big romp from room to room. He has learned to run fast and then jump on little rugs and slide on the floor. Many times a day, these rugs have to be straightened and put back into place. On cold nights, he is allowed to sleep in the house on a little bed which is all his own. This he greatly enjoys, but little does he realize that many poor kittens which have no homes have to sleep out in the cold. Many times they go to bed on the cold ground, and their little ears freeze because they cannot keep warm. One of the greatest delights of this kitten is to play with a little rubber ball which was bought for him. He will chase it from room to room like playing with a mouse. He makes it roll by striking it with his feet or jumping at it. One day, the ball rolled under the pantry door, and the mistress heard Snooks meowing, but did not go to see what he wanted. Soon he came to the living room and meowed again, and then started back toward the kitchen, still meowing. The mistress followed, and Snooks led her to the door of the pantry and looked under, as much to say, "I have lost the little ball. Will you get it for me?" She opened the door and found the ball, and the kitten went on playing again, perfectly satisfied. On another day, a Victrola was brought into the house where Snooks lived, and at first he was afraid of the music, but soon showed signs of interest. He would sit and listen and like to watch the records go round and round. He would walk all around the machine, smelling and looking as though trying to find where the music and voices were coming from. At this writing, Snooks, the little blue and gray kitten, is alive and well. He lives in a college town, but has never gone to college. He is satisfied to eat 3 times a day, and every day he plays with the little ball which he enjoys so much. He is now about 1 year old and is going to be a large cat when grown. Let us hope that he will always have a good home and be well and playful. End of Section 2.